Hi everyone, I'm Mr. Llama here, and today we'll be talking about industrial and logistics REITs. The reason why I wish to clump these two sectors together is because most of the industrial REITs also have logistics exposure and they mostly behave as a hybrid. Let's look at the different kinds of properties you can get exposure to by investing into these REITs. So the first building over here is Synergy, which is located at International Business Park at Jurong. So this building mainly serves those knowledge-intensive industries and also allows for research and development capabilities. The picture on the right is actually the building of Kallang Basin 4. This is an example of a flatted factory in Singapore and serves mainly those clean and light industries. And this building over here is Serangoon North building at Serangoon North. This is an example of a high-tech building and it serves sectors such as precision engineering or logistics businesses. And the last picture over here is actually a Toa Payoh North building, which is owned by Mapletree Industrial. And this is another example of a flatted factory and it serves those light manufacturing businesses. And by investing to these REITs also give exposure to logistics sector like having warehouses or district centers as seen as these two buildings over here. And interestingly, industrial REITs in Singapore also consists of data centers. So you can see that Maple Industrial actually has 13 data centers in North America, and it's also a growing sector in Singapore. As we can see, Equinix actually have this SG1, 2, 3, 4 data centers in Singapore, and one of it is actually owned by this Mapletree Industrial REIT. As I'm curious, who else owns data centers in Singapore? So I did a research on this SG2 data center of Equinix and found that it seems to be owned by Capital Land over here and is located at Pioneer Hub. So these are the various REITs you can invest in to get exposure into the industrial and logistics sector. I intentionally put Ascendas REIT in the middle because it has a huge amount of exposure to business parks, hence it's more of an industrial office hybrid kind of REIT as compared to these other REITs which are more specific towards industrial or the logistics sector. You can see over here the left side will definitely be logistics sector and the ones on the right will be more industrial or data center focused. I feel it is really important for us to discern whether we are investing into a logistics or industrial sector, and this will be further explained in the future videos where I talk about the portfolio balancing, because we need a balanced exposure to all different sectors of the REITs, and this serves as a diversification to our portfolio. So by looking into the investor presentations of these AIMS APAC REIT or any other REITs, you can see that they have 46.9% exposure into logistics and warehousing, and hence this makes this REIT a logistics focused REIT. And within the investor presentation slides, we can have more color into what are the tenant base of this particular REIT. And for AIMS APAC REIT, we can see that logistics sector once again makes up the bulk of the tenant base. And interestingly, AIMS APAC REIT also has exposure to 1.9% of data center. I also have this habit of looking at the tenant base to see whether they are quality tenants when investing into industrial or logistics REITs. And over here you can see that AIMS APAC main tenant is actually this Optus Administration, and we know that this is a telecommunications company based in Australia. And next in line is Illumina Singapore, which is a biotech company, and you see that the top few tenants are actually quite quality tenants and they are actually profitable businesses. Just now we have talked about a logistics REITs, and we know that logistics REITs give us mainly exposure to warehouses or district centers. So now let's look at what kind of exposure can an industrial REIT bring us. So looking at this Mapletree Industrial Trust investor presentation extract, you see that for assets under management, Mapletree actually has a bulk of the exposure to data centers, which is of investors' interest. They also have exposure to flatted factories, business parks, which is a bit office-like, and they also have exposure mainly to high-tech buildings over here also. which serves those R&D or those semiconductor industries. Over here we can see that the two bulks of the gross rental income comes from the manufacturing sector and the infocom sector. I believe this orange color parts comes mainly from the high-tech buildings, and this blue color parts revenue comes mainly from the data centers that Mapletree Industrial Trust owns. So just now I have covered how to identify whether a REIT is more of a logistics REIT, industrial or data center REIT from their latest investor presentation slides. So now we would like to talk about the unique features of these REITs. So the first unique feature is that they have longer term leases, at least as compared to retail REITs, where you can watch it in my previous video. So these REITs have longer term leases lasting 5 to 10 years, and you can see two examples over here. Okay, the first example is from AIMS APAC, where they secured a 12-year master lease with Optus Centre, an Australian telecommunications company. And then we have this example from Fraser's Commercial Trust, where Google leased their space, and they leased for a term up to 5 years starting from first quarter 2020. And industrial and logistics REITs can be cyclical, and they are subjected to the economical cycles because most of the companies or the tenants that lease the spaces from them, their financial performance is largely based off the economic performance of the global economy too. However, these REITs often collect security deposits of 3 to 6 months, and this serves as a buffer when these companies actually meet into any financial troubles. So over here you can see from SingStat, the industrial space price index is indeed more volatile. As you can see, from 2009 to 2019, they actually fluctuated from a price index 50 to 110 range. However, for office space and retail space price index, the fluctuation is not that great. Okay, it started from about 90 and went all the way to about 140, and it remained pretty stable after that. So over here we can see that the price fluctuation is indeed greater for industrial space prices, because from 50 it gained 100%, more than 100% to reach 120, and over here the gain is only about 50% or so, and the rise and the drop is indeed more significant as compared to office space and retail space prices. A very common strategy that logistics and industrial REITs engage in is this sales and leaseback of properties. So you can see over here the example is CWT Limited. It used to be listed in Singapore Exchange. It is a logistics company that owns certain industrial and logistics properties in Singapore. So these businesses, right, when they need cash, by borrowing money from the bank, they will incur interest expense. So what they do is to sell off these properties to REITs, get the money, the cash, and then they invest this cash into their businesses. And as for REITs, right, like Mapletree Logistics REITs, in this case, they will then invest into these properties and then collect the future rental payments as part of their own benefits. And interestingly, FRS 116 is a new FRS starting from 1st January 2019. So this will actually cause companies like this CWT Limited to front load most of the leasing expenses, and this will impact their income statement. However, I see that this is just purely an accounting effect, and when these companies or businesses need cash, I feel that they will still continue to conduct in this sales and leaseback to get more cash to be invested into their businesses. And because of these sales and leaseback agreements, right, you can see that most of the lease terms, right, will last about 5 to 10 years, because these buildings that CWT sells to Mapletree Logistics REIT, these buildings are indeed crucial to their day-to-day operations and their businesses. So they need these buildings, and they have the incentive to also lease back from the REIT for a longer time period. I actually got this information from the SGX research article from Reuters website again, and this actually gives us a color of how much yield we can look for when investing into industrial REITs, and it's quite high at 7.1% right now. As we all know, REITs prices have been hit really badly by the COVID virus. And interestingly, I note over here that these industrial REITs and logistics REITs are the only ones that are green in color for the year-to-date 2020 returns. Okay, this information is accurate as of June 2020, and we can see that Ascendas year-to-date is 6.5% in the green. Capital DC REIT is 24.6% in the green. Mapletree Industrial and Logistics are also green year-to-date. Okay, and the next one is actually Parkway Life, and this is a healthcare REIT. So you can see that industrial and logistics can indeed be a form of resilient investment during this COVID Black Swan event, and this is why it's really important to diversify into different sectors and industries when investing into REITs. In the near term, I feel that yes, REIT prices are going to be continued to be hit by this COVID and economic recession news and so on. However, looking at the longer term, we can see that Singapore government is really doing a good job in terms of attracting foreign direct investment to Singapore. And we can see the latest news over here, May 2020, despite pandemic, the EDB secures 13 billion worth of foreign direct investment in the first 4 months of 2020, and this is pretty much comparable to, in fact, it exceeds the previous year's performance. See, in 2019, the whole year, government only managed to attract $15.2 billion, but in 2020, just for the first 4 months, they attracted $13 billion of investments. And other kinds of mega trends right on is actually on the political stability of Singapore. As you can see in most parts of the world, I don't want to name any countries in this case, right? Singapore stands out as a country with great political stability. Okay, and government is also quite generous with their grants to support businesses even during this COVID crisis. And comparing the corporate tax rates of different countries, right? Singapore actually is quite low, and this 17% corporate tax rate actually attracts many businesses to set up the bases or offices in Singapore. And most businesses also use Singapore as a Southeast Asia hub. As you can see, like Uber, even though they are not operating in Singapore, they are still maintaining the office known as a Southeast Asia hub in this region. And we can see that another mega trend we're riding on by investing to industrial REITs is technology. With the advancement of 5G and so on, right, there is a huge potential to consumer changes, and can see, for example, Tuas Port is also set to be the world's fully automated terminal. Okay, I see this as an opportunity because by being in the forefront of technology advances, Singapore can then further attract more investments into Singapore. And then you can see that the REITs, right, are also more and more gaining more exposure into data center. And this is one of the trends that we're riding on as seen in the great year-to-date returns of Capital DC REIT. And also, we are seeing more and more reliance on data in terms of data analytics, AI, and so on. And the consumption of data is increasing day by day. So this trend of data centers is just only going to continue to increase in the coming years. So talking about the logistics REITs of Singapore government actually have this logistics industry transformation framework as announced in 2017. And the main aim of this framework is to let Singapore maintain the #1 ranking in terms of global logistics performance. So with this monetary investment by the government, and also the help to create more jobs to maintain this strong pool of logistics talent in Singapore, this will not only help Singapore maintain the #1 ranking in Southeast Asia in terms of logistics, it also go on to help Singapore maintain the ranking as one of the busiest and most efficient port in Singapore. And talking about 5G, Recently, Singapore has also announced the allocation of bandwidth to Singtel and StarHub and M1. And being this a leader into 5G technology among Southeast Asia actually puts Singapore into a good state to compete among the other countries like Malaysia, Indonesia as a port city. So lastly, to sum up, I feel that when you invest into industrial and logistics REITs, it's really important to know what exactly you are investing into. And I feel that you should invest into REITs that are able to maintain the competitiveness and attractiveness of their properties, meaning they are focused more on the high technology or allows for certain R&D capabilities, okay, instead of those traditional kind of businesses. And last but not least, we have reached the end of this video. So thank you for watching this video, and hopefully this has given you a more knowledge into investing into industrial REITs. And if you like this video, please remember to click like and share this video with friends who are also interested in REITs investing. Last but not least, again, subscribe to LlamaFinance for more REITs video. Thank you.